I'm rolling with FD.
I am rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
We are rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
We got alphas and bros in the house.
That's right.
Peace out, my brother.
Woo!
I'm rolling with the F to the D.
Learn something new every day when you're rolling with FD.
We are rolling with FD, baby.
I roll with one person, and that's FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
You gotta love it, man.
Hey, Renee, who you rolling with?
Rolling with FD.
Hey, Matt.
Rolling with FD.
You don't have to ask. I'm rolling with FD.
My man, C. Bless. Who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
That's how you just rolling, right? That's the whole thing, right? You roll with it.
I'm rolling with FD.
Manny and Jeremy, who you rolling with?
We're rolling with FD. We don't want to get our asses kicked.
My man, Dan, the card man. I appreciate you, dog. You gotta let the people know who you rolling with.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD, baby.
Chasing Cardboard is rolling with FD.
Rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm excited to be here. It's been a couple of days since I've been on. It's 6:02 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I got my guy Zach here from Collector Creative. He's going to come through. We're going to talk about many, many things. I had the opportunity to meet him last year at a Burbank show. And I've been wanting to have him on since then. So here's Zach. What's up, Zach?
What is up, FD? I am honored to be on the show, and I'm happy to be rolling with FD.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I'm happy to have you here. What's new and exciting?
You know, man, just trying to get through it all, I feel like. You know, just got back from the National a week ago. That was amazing. You know, great experience. I'm sure we can get into that a little bit more. But, you know, I've got a wife and kids, so it's back to school time, you know, for us. And just trying to keep things rolling, man.
I understand. How old is your child?
I have two. I've got a daughter who's going to be 16 in a month, which is a little scary because she'll be driving. And then my son is 13.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, 13. So he's in 8th grade, 7th grade?
Going into 8th grade. That is right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, man. I did not know that about you, but congratulations there.
Thank you. Yeah. They're at a fun age for the most part, minus some teenage attitude, right?
Yeah, that always happens. That always happens. You know, like Junior is 8, so he's becoming opinionated.
Yeah.
He'll say some things sometimes that are opinionated. So then you just have to, you know. I have conversations with, because Junior and I, we think somewhat alike. So I can relate to him. So I can remember when I had questions, and my father was a very he would have conversations which it'd be disciplined, but wrapped into a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So I would ask him, like, what makes you say that? And then walk him down the road. And sometimes he gets it, and sometimes he doesn't, but we're still on that road.
Yeah.
And G is 19. I think every probably 18, 19-year-old, maybe your children the same way, they have glimpses of grown.
Yes.
Right.
There are glimpses from time to time.
Glimpses. And then I present grown, because now we're about to be grown 365.
Yeah.
And then we get back to, I don't know if I want that. So, you know, it's all good. It's a part of the process. 100%. I was a kid that tried to listen a lot. You know, I tried to really listen to people, and but I was a human being, so I still had my time where I wanted that shift. But then I realized these are the people that's been taking care of me, teaching me, loving on me. What's different now? Because I'm a little bit taller. I'm taller than my father. Still no different. You know what I'm saying? I was taller than my father, man, at like, probably 12 years old.
Wow. My son is catching up fast, man. I think it's going to be another year, maybe 2, and he will for sure take me over. It's scary because I'm starting to look him in the eyes.
Yeah. So let's start out by telling everyone how you got interested in the hobby, and what was your first experience? How did the whole thing get introduced to you?
Well, going way back, man, I mean, I can remember collecting as a kid. I grew up outside of Chicago, north suburbs. And so my buddies and I, there was a few card shops that we would ride our bikes to, all the time. Some of them were actually pretty far. I don't know what the mileage is, but it was many miles to get there, but we didn't care. Just collecting, ripping packs. I mean, I vividly remember, when when Skybox came out, when Upper Deck came out, for baseball and basketball, and sort of that junk wax era was my thing. I'm an 80s, 90s kid. And just spending time in the card shop, like hours and days, just having fun, ripping packs. And it was funny, man. My buddies and I, we always used to joke, we were addicted to packs as a kid, because it was like you'd rip them open, you get the big hit, and we'd like talk to the card shop owner and be like, hey, how many packs can I get for this card? And just, keep doing it. So that was sort of my first introduction in memories. And then, as I got into high school, as far as, older high school years, sports, girls came into play, and then college took over, and I sort of lost touch with it. And then I think, like with many of us, the COVID and the pandemic sort of reinvigorated it, because there wasn't things to do, and sort of rediscovered cards. And it was a major wake-up call for me, as to maybe many of us. But when I grew up, there was no such thing as grading. The only thing was like Beckett. There wasn't like eBay or the internet. And so all of these things that have sort of progressed was interesting to learn about. And so getting back into it, I had worked, I owned my own digital agency for 13 plus years. And then I had an opportunity to go work for Jeff Wilson for a couple of years over at Sports Card Investor. And so I was responsible for overseeing a lot of their digital products, including market movers. So that was really cool. That, gave me a ton of new connections, and where I got to meet awesome people like you. And now, I'm a passionate collector. I do a ton of 90s inserts, most basketball stuff. But I've taken that passion and I've started Collector Creative, targeting, people within the collectible space, to try to help them with creative consulting stuff, as well as running my own podcast, Hobby Hustle. And then I've been producing some custom art cards that's been really fun, just sort of as a creative outlet for myself. So I'm sort of attached in many facets to collecting and the hobby as a whole.
All three things I wanted to ask you about. So first off, let's talk about the artwork that you kind of created. And I saw some interesting stuff at the National that was distributed. So talk about that.
Yeah, man. So I'm ashamed I don't have the National card here, but I was able to team up with the guys over at Mantle, which is a new social community for collectors, which is really cool. So if you haven't checked it out, onmantle.com, it's on Mantle is all their social handles as well, free to join. But it's a social community. They want to do something cool for the National, something exclusive. So we put together this really cool montage sort of piece with LeBron, Jim Brown, and Jim Tomei. So sort of like, three greats from each sport from Cleveland. It was sort of an homage to them. It was limited to 44 pieces. That was cool. And then I'm a sneaker guy, not as big as probably most people, but I love my sneakers and I love Jordan. So I actually have created 2 releases so far. I feel fortunate they've sold out, but I've got my sneaker series. So there's the Air Jordan 1, and then we got the Air Jordan 3. And what's cool about these is they're all hand numbered, signed, limited edition. And then I have a verification code there with a holographic sticker. So you can go to originalcardart.com, put it into the database just like you would any other graded card, and it will pull up the details, when it was produced, what number you have, and it actually shows you pictures. That's something that I built on my own, and I'm reaching out to other artists to see if they want to join that platform. I'm offering it as a free service to them to try to help elevate and bring some semblance of authenticity to all this custom art that's starting to come out with some really, really talented artists.
Yes, a lot of custom artists coming out. I'm gonna hit some questions here that I'm gonna ask you about Collector Creative.
Sure.
Machado says we're rolling. Thank you, Machado, for being here. I always support it. Welcome, Zach Attack. Thanks for the time. What's up, chat? Let's get it. As a sports collector myself since 8 years old, shout out to all the true collectors, heart and soul of the hobby. I fundamentally believe that as well. Big John, what's up, fam? What's up, Big John? What's going on? Connecticut in the house. Yeah, South Side. So tell us about Collector Creative, the ins and outs, how they get started, all of that.
Yeah, so as I said, I've owned my own digital agency for many years before I started working with Jeff. And so I just saw an opportunity in the marketplace to bring, you know, a new level of sort of professionalism to collectors. I see a lot of these amazing content creators, these brick and mortar shops, you know, whatever it might be within the hobby collectible space. And not all of them are at sort of that professional level from a design standpoint, from marketing, social media, website development, app development, you know, all that sort of thing. And so my goal is to be able to offer those services to people. You know, I've done that for, like I said, 13 plus, now it's like 15 plus years of my career. So looking to be able to help those people out. And then again, using that sort of brand and company to leverage the collectible card art as well as the podcast and just having fun with it, man. And I'd love to be able to turn my passion into my everyday life.
Right. Very cool. Now talk to us about Hobby Hustle. I know it's your podcast, but give us the premise of it.
Sure. So the thought is, I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, so everyone's like, oh, another podcast, great. But I really try to look at it from the perspective of finding people who've been passionate collectors and turning that passion into a full-time business. And so I've been really fortunate to have some amazing people on the show so far. I've got a lot of other really great people lined up, but the goal of it is to not just do people in the card collectible space. So I actually just recorded with AMG Robbie, which is really cool. So getting the music collectibles. I have some other people, you know, on the auction house side. I've talked to people from the content side, and just trying to mix that up. And hopefully that continues to grow. I've been trying to talk to my brother. He's actually really big into the watch and jewelry space, which is sort of maybe not traditional collecting, but there is a massive collecting community there. And so trying to get people like that and just shedding the light on a variety of people, like I said, who have that passion, that collecting gene, and turning that into their business.
Very cool. Very cool. Talk to me about the National. Was this your first National?
No, I've been fortunate to go since Atlantic City. So this is my third, I believe it is.
Okay.
It was great, man. You know, I mean, I know that there was some knocks on logistics as far as parking and where it was located. And sure, that's a problem, but you know, any venue has those problems. But as far as once you get there, it was awesome, man. The vibe in the room was really cool. You know, just the feel of excitement from collectors, as you know, I believe you've been, you know, there's a ton of just tables to see, but the best part about it isn't just the collectibles and all the cool stuff. Like Heritage Auctions had, you know, the Babe Ruth Called Shot jersey, and Golden had some amazing pieces on display, and, you know, all these different activations and events at all these other corporate booths. And I got to, you know, meet though just so many amazing people and network with so many people. It's sort of unique, I think, not that there aren't other big industry trade shows, but I really feel like the National brings together like everybody from, you know, the collectible and hobby industry into one location. And I think that's unique, because other industries are sort of maybe more fragmented or not everybody can make it, but it's like the National, man, everyone is there for those, you know, 5 days. And it was just really awesome. Tiring, but really awesome.
Yeah. You get your steps in, right? Get to move around. Were you looking for anything in particular to purchase as far as adding to your PC or anything like that?
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a big Jordan, Rodman, Pippen trio collector. Like I try to do some of the rare inserts. I'll never have the funds to do the crazy stuff like the PMGs, but I was looking for a few holes that I had, and I shout out to Justin at 6'10" Sports. He and I were able to make a couple deals, and I picked up some cool Jordans. I got a Skybox Premium 3Ds, which was cool. That's sort of the OG cracked ice. And then I also was able to pick up Star Power Supreme, which is that sort of weird yellow acetate foil card, but it's a tough pull. And so being able to find those pieces were cool. And the best part is I laid out a little bit of cash, but most of it was trade, and that was my goal. So like I said, though, I was there more for the people and the networking than the cards, but of course I was able to make a couple deals.
Cool. What part of the country are you in now? Where you live? You still live in Chicagoland area?
I don't. I moved out in 2000 and I came west. Lived in Denver for quite some time, and now I'm just outside of Denver in Evergreen, Colorado. So I'm about 30 minutes west of Denver, up in the mountains.
All right, very cool.
But still a diehard Chicago sports fan. FD. I'll cheer for the Nuggets, but that's about the only team that I cheer for out here.
What's up with the White Sox, man? White Sox.
Oh man, dumpster fire. That's what's up with them. They just, you know, and honestly, I'm a passionate Bulls fan. I have another social media brand, the Bench Mob, which I've had forever, or Bench Mob Chicago. But, you know, Jerry Reinsdorf, he obviously had a great run with MJ and stuff, and they got really close with Derrick Rose before he got hurt, and that whole team. But time and time again, they just don't field the team they need. And I feel like the Sox, obviously they had their World Series title, and then it's like, oh, we get really close and we have this exciting team, and something goes wrong and it falls apart. So
Can you believe
I don't know,
19
man.
Years ago?
What's that?
It was 19 years ago.
The World Series.
Yeah, I remember that team vividly.
Yeah.
19 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been a while. Same with the Bulls, right? Like that's even longer. And it's too bad. Listen, I'm not a GM. I'm just a guy, right? And a fan. But like that whole couple years ago when they hired Tony La Russa, it just didn't make sense. And again, Jerry Reinsdorf, he had a passion for La Russa and felt he did him wrong in the past, which I respect, right? Trying to make things right. But like that was just not the right thing. And I feel like ever since that hire, they just have gone down in the dumps, man.
I think Reinsdorf is a guy who looks at numbers just personally. And he realizes that team is going to turn a profit for him and grow in value no matter if they win or not.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I get to shell out less revenue and salaries and things like that. So
it's just so frustrating as a fan, man. Like that's not what you want from your owner.
But I also think if Zach, if you were going to sign with the Bulls, right? You're probably going to call somebody else who played with the Bulls, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Then they're going to tell you what the real deal is behind the curtain in that organization. And that's why I think these organizations struggle. Raiders, we can keep naming them.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle because you call a vet who spent some serious time there, and they'll tell you this, they'll tell you that, they'll tell you this, they'll tell you that. But then you call the Patriots when Belly was there, and they're going to tell you something. You call Golden State, they're going to tell you something. You call San Antonio on the pop, they're going to tell you something. So I think a lot of these franchises just, until you get new ownership, and most teams win from top down. So
yeah,
the old saying, if the head of the fish stinks, the entire body is going to stink. So if those upstairs are making certain decisions that just don't make sense, or they're bringing in a GM because they're golfing buddies or things like that, and not just about that business that's on the field, on the court, or on the diamond, then it is what it is. So I think that's what the White Sox are right now.
Yeah, the White Sox, the Bulls, like you said, we'll see. They had some promise, and then they had injuries, but even then, I don't think that was a championship team. The one team that has me excited, I don't know enough about hockey. Obviously, I know Connor Bedard is the hype and seems to be the real deal, but I can't speak intelligently on that. But the Bears, man, I think it's appropriate because tonight Hard Knocks drops. I'm excited to watch that, but I truly feel that between Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, to your point, I think they've got some good leadership at the top. And they seem to be making the right moves. And I'm excited for Caleb Williams, man. I know there was a lot of, sort of BS that got put out there when he was coming out, but from everything that I've actually read and I've actually seen, the kid seems to have a really good head on his shoulders, and he's super talented.
I hope so. I know Stephen A. First Take came to town and interviewed him the other day. He tried to say as little as possible. So Stephen A. was trying, when Stephen A. tries to amp you up, it's because the person's not saying a lot. So Caleb Williams, somebody's been in his ear to know. So you don't want to be in preseason dropping sound bites that get you blasted in week 2. 100%. So he did a pretty good job of coming there and conducting himself accordingly. And
that's what I'm saying. That kid's polished, man. He really is.
Let his game speak for itself. Hopefully he can do what people have said about him. It's been since 85. Bears actually had a good team in 86.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I mean, it's just been
was it 2004 was the Super Bowl they lost to the Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great team, and when Hester took that kickoff back, man, shout out to Devin Hester for making
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, man. And Pep and Mongo McMichael. It was a great deal for the Bears. But man, I was so excited when that one went back. I thought we had it, and Peyton Manning's just something else, man.
He really is something else. Devin Hester, I remember jumping around in my living room when he returned that, because that was the same year Ohio State went to the national championship and also opened a kickoff. Ted Ginn Jr. returned the kickoff, very similar fashion. Everything after that was downhill for the Bears. I still don't understand. I've been over and over again. Rex Grossman is in the Super Bowl dropping snaps.
Yeah.
I'll never understand how you used to almost week. What was it back then? 16, 20? and you're still fumbling snaps.
Yeah.
We got Big John in the building. That's what Machado says. Collector Dream says hello. Big John says he's gonna check your podcast out.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that, man. Please let me know what you think. I'm open for all suggestions.
Cool. Machado, a question for Zach. Did you see anybody buying or collecting stuff other than cardboard at the National?
For sure. Tons of memorabilia, a lot of type 1 photos. There's a lot of that autograph type, balls, bats, jerseys, artwork. There was a couple different cool vendors with artwork. But obviously it's a pretty heavy cardboard show. There's a lot of vintage. There's obviously modern. And, I think that's a whole subject in and of itself, as far as there's been rumblings about, could they separate that and do a better job for certain collectors? I like having the mix. I like being able to, walk around and see different things that if I was just going to one section per se, you don't get to see, but definitely other stuff than cardboard.
On that note, now this is no knock against the National. I've gone to the National since I was a teenager. If you could wave a magic wand and change something about the National, what would it be?
That's interesting. I don't know if like I said, I think there's pros and cons of this organization thing, right? Like having modern and vintage, but honestly, I think, and this goes for all shows, I would love to see vertical displays put out, because everybody's crowding around these tables. They're all trying to hunch over. And once you get a few people in front of a showcase, it's really hard to see stuff. And, you don't want to be rude and budge people out of the way. So if they could somehow put it up where there'd be vertical displays at every booth, I honestly think that would be a game changer.
I agree with you on that. That is different. We were seeing some retail shops recently.
Yes. My old buddy Jeff had some really cool vertical displays.
Because he asked that question, why is everybody looking down? Why don't we look up?
Yeah. I think it's really true. Obviously, other little things that make a big difference and people I don't think realize, but carpeting, right? Padded carpeting makes a huge difference when you're walking around there all day. And I think too, just not necessarily from the vendor standpoint, and the big corporate brands are getting better, but having cool interactive experiences for the people, the guests of the show, I think that would be great. Sure, they've got a panel of guests, or maybe they've got an autograph signing or things like that, but I think there's room to improve that experience, and really make that something that someone wants to go to and do something more interactive than, oh, I got this card or I got this ticket for a raffle. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there too.
I agree. I think the interactive part, we talk about growing the hobby 5, 7, 10x, is what's really going to do it. If you can bring someone in that doesn't really know a lot about cars, but they know human contact, that's something people are familiar with from the way back in their childhood. And they can then meet someone or talk to someone or have some time with someone that they think is very memorable, and maybe receive something from that person or from that event that those people were involved in. It may lock something in your mind when you start to think man, I'd like to experience that again. Right? That's how people go to sporting events, and you can see teams now, they're throwing T-shirts at you. They're doing a bunch of different stuff at halftime breaks. Let's just have a halftime or a 20-second timeout. Let's actually interact with the crowd so they can experience something. We got DJs at games that are playing your favorite song. We have a Jumbotron that is interactive with you. It could be Kiss Cam or whatever it may be. These things didn't happen before. We all remember, some of us older guys remember when these things did not happen. So if you can try to put that more into the show itself, like you talked about carpeting, comfort. I understood from some people, I wasn't there, but there was a seating area where people were trying to do deals. There were pieces of paper on tables that said you can't do deals here. And then there were people coming around breaking up those deals. You got to take that someplace else.
I didn't see that, man. That's too bad if that's the case. There was definitely on the general admission level or whatever, the main level, there was seating for the food vendors and beverage vendors. And then there was a downstairs sort of VIP area And that had a ton of seating and stuff. I didn't see anything with people getting kicked out, but that bums me out, man, because the whole point of that is, like you said, human interaction, like getting collectors together to look through each other's cards and have fun and talk.
Yes, maybe if you had an area where only deals take place.
Totally.
Right? You come through, you got your cards, I got my cards. We're doing deals here.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, I mean, those are the things I think add excitement to some of these things. But I did like the fact that they had sanctioned trade nights. Tried to support that as well. They have a whole ripping section with breakers. That kind of stuff is cool. Whatnot had a huge booth. That stuff is cool because now you're bringing in the kind of the softer side of, I call it the softer side of what's going on in the hobby, because now we're using technology. And we're talking about the future of the hobby because it's going to be technology based. And I hate to say this, but because I grew up with it and I still see it now, but the dealers that have the rubber bands around their cards, they're going to be less of those.
Yeah.
That's how things go. And there are going to be more people trying to sell on these sites that promote activity. So I think I know the National has a bunch of smart people on their selection committee as far as cities. We're going to get into that as well. And what's going on at the show and creating an agenda of things. But I think what Fanatics is going to bring in New York is probably going to be very interesting. As far as then you can look back and say, man, the National does this, Fanatics does that. How does that gap close? Who's leading the change and the innovation?
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting conversation. But I'm going to ask you, though. You've been to Chicago. You've been to Atlantic City. You've been to Cleveland. Are there any other cities when you think about the growth? We talked about, again, 10X in the hobby. That means we're going to 10X the National.
Yeah, you hope, right? You hope you 10X the National. So, obviously, I think the obvious answers are Orlando, obviously has some huge convention space, and Vegas. I'm not as familiar with Atlanta. I know they have a very large convention center. I know the Cobb Galleria from Roth and his Culture Collision show and stuff like that. So I can't speak to the larger version. And then, I obviously, as a Chicago guy, man, I say we can keep it there, and maybe they look to move it to McCormick Place, which is the largest convention center in at least the U.S. I don't know about the world, but in the U.S. I know it's downtown, but that's another possibility because I'm partial to going home for the National. It's a pretty good feeling.
I'm with you on that. McCormick Place is a place that a lot of people haven't talked about. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Machado says, Zach, got any car pickups you can show us?
Not readily available, man. I guess I came unprepared, and I found some. Actually, this was cool. You know what? Let me see if I might have some small. Oh yeah, I do. All right, check this out. So I was talking to my old school buddy Hank. I've seen him at a couple nationals. He's a much older guy, and I was like, Hank, what is this? So this is, as far as I know, the first Braille sports card that was ever made. So he knows a gentleman who was working with a blind, youth center, and had this idea to make some cool sports cards. So they actually engraved it in wood, and the kids can read, Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls and stuff. And I just thought that was really cool. It's not really a valuable piece. What else did I get that I can show off? This is actually really cool. So Andy Friedman is an artist. He has a deal with Topps. He has the Topps Spotlight set. The first two releases were of sort of like obscure old school players, and they've done very well for themselves. But for this new release, Topps approached him and said, hey, I want you to paint not only some of the stars now, but let's also do some of the modern people. And so I was talking with him one night, and we were looking through his box, and I was actually able to pick up, this is a Bobby Witt Jr., but what's so cool about this is original artwork that was unissued. It didn't make the cut by Topps. So that was a really cool piece for the PC. And then I do Bulls on card auto stuff. And so I found a Ben Gordon card and, some other little odds and ends. Yeah, man. That still to this day, man, that series against the Celtics was one of the most ridiculous playoff basketball series ever. I think there was like 4 overtime games. That was nuts.
I agree. Andy Friedman.
Mm-hmm. His IG handle is Sunday Friedman.
I've met him. He was at the Mint.
Okay.
I remember that name.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. Super nice guy, super talented artist. And, just again, speaking back to this whole card art. Tom, the card carver, he's been around for a really long time. He had an opportunity to partner with Ludex, and they did this cool card art gallery down in the VIP area for the show. Andy was one of the artists, along with Ken K, Jordan Spector, and there was a couple other artists that were a part of that. But just to the growing popularity of card art, Andy's latest release that I think released two weeks ago on Tuesday, sold out in 7 minutes. So there's definitely a demand there, and it's becoming more mainstream, which is cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Big John X, what's your thoughts on the Olympics so far? Are you watching the Olympics?
So I am, not as much as I probably should. I actually went away with my family, my folks. My brother came in town with his kids and stuff for a few days right after the national, decompress a little. We did a lot of Olympic watching, which was really fun. It's such a cool event. It's so cool to see people at the peak of, their athletic ability across the world. And what's crazy to me always is that people train for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years to, be at these events, and they've got one shot to do it. And obviously some, reap the glory and others fall short. And it's just fascinating to me. Have you been watching much?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been checking this stuff out. The crazy stat was just the evolution of sport, right? You remember Carl Lewis and Ben Johnson?
Oh yeah.
The other day they ran a 100 men's with Noah Lyle winning.
Yep.
All 10 runners ran under 10 seconds. That's the first time in history that's ever happened.
That's crazy.
And Carl Lewis, what he ran in 88 would have been like 7th of 8 or 8.
It's, listen, bigger, faster, stronger, right? We're seeing it across the board with all the athletes, and there's probably a variety of reasons for that, but it's pretty mind-boggling. And in a sport that maybe not a lot of people think about, I don't know if it happened today or if it was yesterday. I saw the highlights, but a U.S. Climber, like a wall climbing competition, broke the world record, went from the ground to the top to hit the bell in 4.75 seconds. It was like watching Spider-Man. It was unbelievable.
Yep, the 3-on-3 basketball. I like the evolution of events. I like the I don't want to use the wrong term. I would call it co-ed running events.
Yeah.
I love that. Like I used to think as a young kid, like, why don't they have that? Why isn't FloJo and Carl Lewis running together?
Totally.
You know how wonderful that would have been?
Oh yeah. And the US team just set the world record for the co-ed swimming relay. Yeah.
It was wonderful. So stuff like that I think keeps it interesting. And then I think they're doing a better job than they have in the past at marketing an event. Like we're talking about how you do things differently. You got Snoop Dogg out there. You got Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart.
And Flavor Flav.
Running around and doing different things to bring different demographics into viewing and liking what they see. I think we need more of that stuff as we go forward.
100%.
Yeah. People sleeping on Caleb and Rome, nightmare for defenses. You know, Machado, I can just say as a diehard Bears fan, I can't start talking until they start doing it. Man, I've seen so much stuff. Man, I can name names just for most of this podcast about who was going to show up and who did not pan out real quickly. So I hope so. I hope you're right, Machado. I hope we look back on this about week 10, 12, and we're like, man, Machado was on something.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Listen, on paper, between Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome, it's an impressive wide receiver core. You got Kmet as a tight end. You got Swift coming out of the backfield. There's a lot of weapons. My biggest concern, honestly, with the Bears is their offensive line. Like, they're not deep. They're decent, but if they start to get beat up, I worry that Caleb's going to be running for his life.
And being out here in LA, I've seen Keenan Allen come off the line, and hopefully he's done for 3 weeks. So we'll see.
We'll see,
man. Zach, did anybody have graded magazines or vinyls? I know there's been a a lot of talk about rated vinyls. Did you see any of that?
So, personally, did not minus Robbie from Audio Media Grading. He had some prototype stuff with them that was really cool, cases that they were working on. I'm trying to think. I don't remember seeing anything in showcases. There definitely were some magazines, old Sports Illustrated, old Time magazines, things like that, but not in large numbers. I still think that some of that stuff, obviously comics have come a long way, but I do think that there's some opportunity with both of those, both magazines and music, not only vinyl, but tapes have been really hot. And then, CDs too, but there's definitely room there for people to make some money if you're in it for flipping, finding stuff in good shape, getting it graded and turning and burning.
True. Machado says, Big John, we are witnessing a golden era in the Olympics this year. Absolute cinema. LA in 2028. Yeah, I can't wait on that. That's going to be nice. So some people have been saying that this year's men's basketball team, 2024, could rival the 1992 team. I think Draymond Green came out and said something about if they play 7 games, 2024 team is winning, no doubt. When you compare those teams, what's your thoughts?
Listen, man, I'm partial, right? And that is not taking any credit away from the guys that are on this team, but there is no doubt in my mind that the 92 Dream Team is hands down the single greatest basketball team ever assembled. The way, and people will sit there and argue and say, oh, the competition wasn't as good and this and that. And that's totally fine. But the way that team dominated and ran the table from start to finish, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Should this year's team win the gold? Absolutely. Should they dominate people? Absolutely. But if you're comparing apples to apples, I will never bet against Jordan against anybody, period.
I think that's, me personally, I think that's Draymond's way of continuously supporting Steph Curry.
Sure.
And I get that. I understand that. But we got to talk real deal. I would love to say that to Draymond. Come on, bro. We all read between them lines, and they ain't too far hard to read between.
What's your take? Same deal?
92 team by far.
Yeah.
I would love to see those matchups. I wish we could see something like that. I would love to see Scottie Pippen on. I've always wanted to see 2 people play defense on LeBron James. Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman.
100%, man.
I would love to see that because I think Dennis would get all in his head and
that's 100% it. The head game, dude, that he would play, LeBron would get flustered for sure.
You get flustered. So I would love to see that. Pip at that time was still someone in his prime. So it'd be good to see. And then who's going to D up Mike Jordan?
That's what I'm saying, man. You can put LeBron on him. That's okay. And I'm sure LeBron will get him a couple times, but you can't bet against MJ, man.
No, you got Magic. Magic will be a problem for that team. People like Drew Holiday, Tyrese Halliburton, even Ant-Man. All these people be tested. So, like I said, it's cool to see, throw your hat in the ring for your guy. But much more will be needed on that team. I heard Bo Jackson was at the National. He was there with his board game, right?
Yeah, and I honestly, like I had mentioned earlier, I was there more for the people and meetings and stuff, but I did see there was a lot of hype around his game, and I do know that he was there. I just didn't make it a point to be a part of that commotion.
Understood. Sometimes you see stuff just like at an amusement park. You're like, man, why you keep walking? Machado, did y'all cop some Topps Chrome? You want to talk about Topps Chrome basketball?
Yeah, man. I saw the release of the pictures and stuff, and I gotta say, I am super excited that Topps Chrome basketball is back. However, I am looking to these companies for originality, and all they're doing is sitting there and remaking classic designs. It's unlicensed, which I get it. There's nothing they can do about it yet. So I give them credit for trying, but it's just not a product that interests me until it becomes legit, until they come up with some of their own stuff, man, like Rock Stars and some Youthquake and all these other things that have been done. It's like, what do you guys have that's original? Come on. That's my take.
I totally agree with you. But the original part is the price tag on it.
I didn't even see, what was it going for?
I saw a box for $3,400.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous.
Case pricing $3,400.
Okay.
Let me not. Case pricing was $3,400. I forgot what the box was, and I forgot how many boxes are in the case. So I mean, I understand. I thought when they receive licensing later, they're gonna start putting out product early.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. So from a business sense, I understand what they're doing. I would love to see Wemby is the main athlete in this product. Yep. So I would love to see how the product holds value over time until the license kicks off. What is this stuff going to be worth?
Yeah,
you can't get Wemby autos right now, but
that's my concern with any unlicensed stuff, man. Like, again, does it look good? Sure, it looks nice. It's a nice quality product, but like, I just don't see how that holds up over time. But that's my 2 cents. What do I know?
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing. Jordan says, remember Kevin White. Yeah. For the Bears, there are a lot.
Let's not bring up Kevin White and Roma Dunze together, man. That's a bad curse right there.
There's a lot of wide receivers that can only run the streak. Kevin White was consistently hurt. That's just so that you got Curtis Enos back in the day. I remember that dude. I even had a 39 Curtis Enos Penn State jersey I used to wear. That's just a bunch of people that it just doesn't work. I did love the fact that McMichael got into the Hall of Fame and they did a classy act about getting him his bus at his house and having him wear his jacket. And I met Steve McMichael once upon a time in life. That was cool. At least he had a chance to see. It's always interesting when a player goes into the Hall of Fame and like a Reggie White or some of the other people that have been there, their family has to be there for them. And they don't have a chance to personally experience that. So it's good to see Steve McMichael experience that. He was a heck of a player. And then you saw Richard Dent, you saw a lot of old players there, with him. So
I thought that was what was really cool is that those guys went to his house to support him. It's just sad to see him in that condition. But like you said, at least, you hope he's with it cognitively enough, even though physically he's not there, that he got, to be recognized, while he was alive to go in. That's the ultimate honor as far as a pro football player can make.
Yeah. You got Dent now on that line, Dan Hampton, him, Jimbo Covert, I think, was there at his house. It was good to see.
Yep.
Good to see. Foul ball says, I refuse to go to the National until they have a show on the West Coast. What do you think about coastal? I know we talked about Orlando. What do you think about coastal cities?
I think they can be great, for a lot of people in the Midwest and things like that. It's a nice escape to be able to get to the coasts. Is it convenient for the opposite coast to get there? No, but again, I think it's more about the experience and more about the venue and what that can provide for the guests and the visitors than it is about the location, honestly. I mean, listen, if it was like Omaha, Nebraska had the coolest venue and we could do the coolest national ever, I'm all for going to Omaha, like wherever that needs to happen. But again, I feel like in this day and age with, air travel and everything else, location isn't as important as the venue is. That's my opinion. I don't know what your take is, FD.
No, I can see that. I can see at one point I thought coastal cities wouldn't make it, but I'd like to see some data that shows on average, the average attendee, do they go to every year or do they skip a year or do they go every 3 years? So, you look at retail and other stuff, you can tell when that customer comes in the door and how often they're there. I'm pretty sure they have data on how often people are coming. So maybe 1 year is coastal west, maybe 1 year is coastal east, maybe 1 year is in the Midwest. And maybe you keep that kind of rotation going. We got Comic Cons and Collecticons and all different types of cons that are in different cities throughout the year. And they have a schedule. The National could be on something like that, but they could tell us it's like the Super Bowl. So the next 5 years we're doing this, so you can prepare yourself. So if you're in Cincinnati, if you're in Pittsburgh, if you're in Orlando, if you're in LA, if you're in North Dakota, you can decide where you're going to go, what year. Start getting your travel arrangements together.
Yeah,
and a lot of attendees need to do that. Even myself, I need to understand where's this thing going to be at, and let me start getting saving my little duckies and getting everything in order to be there.
Well, the good news is the next 2, maybe 3 years, it'll be in Chicago at the Donald Stevenson. I think, will the show outgrow that venue? Maybe, but as far as logistics, it's central to the country. It's close to the airport, the hotels, restaurants, all walking distance. That stuff's all really good. But I think another factor that plays into all this is there's some really high quality shows that are popping up. I've never gotten the opportunity, but like the East Coast National, the Philly show, I know those are really big. Obviously, we talked about Culture Collision down in Atlanta. The Dallas Card Show isn't as big from a scale standpoint, but as far as traffic and deals, that's become really big. You've got what's going on out in Burbank, in your backyard. So I think there's also a lot more options for collectors that maybe they feel they don't have to go to the National. Sure, it's the Super Bowl. Sure, it's considered the Mecca. But, for a lot of people, if it's like, hey, I'm not into a bunch of vintage, I don't want to deal with the crowds, I don't want to pay for the travel, I'll go to my regional show that has a lot of really cool stuff too.
Yeah, like you're saying, these regional shows are growing. You got Front Row, you got Burbank, you got like the ones you just named, Culture Collision is going on. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. And some of these shows are moving around to different cities as well to bring what they offer right to your doorstep. So, there's a lot to be learned. I think the National could probably learn some things and give some knowledge at the same time.
Yep.
Jordan says box is $270. There you go. NBA Topps.
Okay. I don't know. My $300, I'd rather spend it elsewhere, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. The E3 is always in Cali.
Yeah, I've never attended that, but I know it's a huge show.
Neither have I. 1 out of 10 years on the West Coast would be nice. Ball, you getting your word out there. I understand. I'm with you. Killer Monstro says I'm rolling with FD. I really appreciate you, Killer. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here, being a part of this. Vegas will work. Yeah, Vegas would work. The only thing about Vegas, though, you go there, you're dispersing money.
I was just going to say, Vegas is expensive now. It's not like it used to be.
Yeah. So now you sell a car at the show, are you at the slots?
It's not even that, FD. It's the clubs, it's the restaurants, it's the hotels. Everything is
There's a lot of ways where you can throw them dollars. So I think that may be one reason why they don't want to be there, but from aesthetics and people wanting to come see it and all that, it is great. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We're getting into some sports talk now. Wemby. When I say the name Wemby, let me preface this, right?
Okay.
Get to the crux of this. I don't remember any guy over 7'4" having a long career in the league.
Yeah.
It's been 75, 77 years of basketball now.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have one sample, one data nuggets to pull out. Who is Wemby going to be?
Well, to your point, I don't know about longevity. Health's going to be a major thing that you can't predict. But assuming he stays healthy, he has the potential to be a generational player. The physical tools that he has, the skills that he has at the size that he is, I mean, we saw it this past season, right? Like even as a young guy, he can be a force on both ends of the floor. And to see somebody that big be able to dribble and handle the ball like he can and be able to shoot from distance, it's pretty scary. And the amount of, on the defensive end, what he can do at that length to make up for other, deficiencies from his teammates, it's incredible. So I hope for his sake, and I hope for the sport of basketball, which I love, that he can stay healthy. But that's a big question mark. I mean, listen, Chet Holmgren, maybe, a lot of people say he's not on Wemby level, but, he was already hurt. But when he wasn't, he's really good. And so, these guys that are these like real lanky, tall, athletic, skilled guys, it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to have careers longer than, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Can they make the 12, the 14-year careers out of it? I can't speak to that.
The last dominant big guy was Yao Ming.
Yeah.
He was destroying shot.
But Yao was huge. He was thick. He was big. These guys are built different. Wemby's built different, man. And that's where, again, you assume that if he can keep up with his health and his conditioning and strength building, that, he's got a chance to be really, really special.
I don't think anybody can argue that he is definitely great to watch.
For
You
sure.
watching Wemby play, and you're like, then you don't want to watch basketball. He can shoot the three. He has a mid range. He can take you to the cup. He has a little bit of a post game that's getting better. You saw him get better with it throughout the year. I always think about his conditioning, just being that big. How much work are you putting on your heart? Pop will start him in games and then sit him down immediately and then bring him back, probably because of something like that. The speed of the game. If I'm a team, though, I saw teams trying to avoid him. I'm taking to the cup. I'm trying to avoid this. I would take it straight down his throat and make him foul me, block my shot, do something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to avoid a 7'4" guy with a 8.5-foot wingspan. I'm not doing that. So we'll see how teams adjust to him over time. But he's definitely a talent and exciting to watch.
Except, and again, I'm not like a Wemby super fan at all. I casually paid attention to things. I obviously saw highlights, things like that. But from everything that I have seen as far as interviews, he seems like he's got also a really good head on his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very level-headed kid. He wants to work hard. He wants to be great. And that's, a huge part of the equation. And, you get some vets coming in. They picked up Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. They're going to be able to help mentor him, teach him. Those are all really positive things for his career development. And I think this day and age, the social media age, the instant gratification, it's like we're not willing to let people develop. It's like this is only scratching the surface, man. Imagine where this kid's going to be in 3-4 years after he's put in the conditioning, after he's got the knowledge, after his body has developed. Like, it's going to be really scary if he stays healthy.
I agree. But Charles says if healthy, Wemby will save the NBA like Otani did baseball. Just my opinion. Boy, people have forgot about Mike Trout. Ooh, nobody talks about Mike Trout no more.
Hot button on Mike Trout, man.
Man, what do you think of Trout, man?
I have many friends who are huge Trout fans. I appreciate that he was a really good baseball player and he put up some big statistics, but the guy hasn't stayed healthy. And I just don't, when they're like, oh, he's a GOAT and he's, one of the best ever. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win. Like, that's hard for me to put anyone in the conversation that can't accomplish that.
Yeah, he's not. To me, he's not realistic. If you're in that conversation, you have a personal something going on. He's not going to be in the conversation of greatness on that level. He's just not. We haven't seen this guy in the playoffs. He hasn't played the World Series.
Yeah,
he had a chance a couple of years ago, and he could be. This is just a hypothesis I have about certain people. They don't want the lights on the stage. They don't want all that. They just want to come out and, do their thing, hit the ball, run the bases, tip
the cap.
Yeah, keep it moving. Right? They don't want to be in New York. They don't want to be in some of these places when the lights get to burn in the back of your neck. They don't want that. Trout kind of comes across to me as a guy who does not want that. Now, a guy like Otani comes across as none of that's going to phase him.
Yeah.
He can go to the World Series this year. He's still playing baseball. Mm-hmm. He has played at a high level overseas. He came here. He's trying to get back to a high level. And I didn't understand why Trout re-signed with the Angels. Never made sense to me.
I mean, comfort, wanting to wear that jersey. I appreciate that for your whole career and stuff. But to your point, like, if you truly want to win, time and time again, they've shown that they can't do it there for whatever reason. Because it's not that they have a lack of talent. They've had a lot of talented players come through there.
Tom Hanks said there's no crying in baseball in a movie one time.
Yeah. A league of their own.
Yeah, I really believe there's no loyalty in sports. I don't understand this whole thing with a player, just me. I don't understand when a player, Chris Paul and at one point, and then recently Dame Lillard. I don't understand this level of loyalty. I don't get that. I would be out there trying to maximize my salary and maximize my winning. And every front office, like Steph Curry's already dropped some nuggets. And if I can't get support here, I really believe that Steph is going to end up playing someplace else.
I don't think I think it'll be sad because he's been there for his whole career and there's so much legacy there. But to your point, I agree, right? Like, if he knows he's only got, a couple years left of his window and that's not the best place for him to win, I would take my talents elsewhere. Probably not South Beach, but elsewhere.
Not South Beach. Time to bounce, but not South Beach. And not a 30-minute show. to tell everybody in 2 seconds where you're going. LeBron did that. He was young. I would hope people know, like, what was that? And then my thing is this with LeBron, right? This is just, let me vent a little bit on LeBron.
Let's vent. I love venting on LeBron.
Great player.
Yes.
Like the whole chalk in the air, that's Jordan, right? We're in a phase now where people are just copying people, right? The whole thing, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. That's Kobe Bryant coming out of high school.
Yeah.
Let's come up with some original ways to express ourselves. We saw Tatum in the
I
final.
was just gonna say, how about Tatum, man?
We saw him morph into 3 or 4 people in 5 minutes. Come on, Tatum. I know you're happy to be there, but a lot of this stuff was rehearsed, man. You have, wow, we did it. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was disappointing. And the thing with Jason Tatum, again, super talented player, but you know, he's not, speaking about stepping up when the light shines brightest. You know, it's just not. Jaylen Brown had a heck of a series, and a lot of those other guys helped carry that team. And listen, again, I'm not taking any credit away from Tatum because he's good, but I don't think he's that great star that a lot of people make him out to be. And, you know, listen, I'm still a little salty for LeBron. If we're going to vent about LeBron, not passing up the opportunity to do, you know, LeBron and D Wade and D Rose and the rest of that team in their prime, that was a tough one for me to see him.
But you know LeBron was not interested in that because D Rose took too many shots. That's not going to happen.
It's just a bummer, man. I mean,
think about it. He played with Isaiah Thomas. Wasn't interested in that.
Yeah,
he's played with several players that can come give it and help him out.
Yeah.
Not interested in that. Even Dwayne Wade knew he had to take the back seat.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh went down to what at one point, 12, 13 points a game.
Yeah, totally.
Started working his way back up. This is LeBron's show when you come over there now. Don't get that thing twisted. And if he feels like you're doing too much, then you will be gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. That would have been, you know, D Rose is probably the biggest what if as a single player, but as far as a team, that could have been really cool to watch.
I agree. Totally agree with you. Foul 5 says Trout hasn't retired yet. I always we've seen other players. All I can say is this. I like to look at how can I compare this situation of this player to someone. We've seen other players go down this road. A-Rod, a few others that have been consistently hurt. It doesn't end a certain way. So, I mean, we'll see. Machado, prayers up for Trout, man. Mookie Betts will carry the torch now. Nobody really talks about Mookie. Mookie's very talented. Can Mookie match Trout's prices? I don't think so. Betts the one that appreciated and undervalued, though. And he most likely will continue to be, which is a shame. Mookie Betts is one heck of a baseball player. He's shown it in the playoffs. He showed it by getting his team to the World Series. He speaks well. He does a great interview. He's family oriented. It's not the Hall of Rings. I hear that. Five, you a Trout fan? I'm here, Trout fan coming out. Trout fan. You know, there was some comparisons during the season to Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on it are it's ridiculous. Do I see Anthony Edwards as a really talented two guard? Absolutely. Does he do some amazing things, athletic? Did I see growth from him and him starting to carry a team, beating a exceptional team in the Nuggets? 100%.
Yes.
But, you know, again, Jordan struggled early on in his career. They had to build the team up around him. I do think that Minnesota has put a really strong nucleus around him. So Jordan ran into the Pistons multiple years, and it took a while to get over the hump. That's where I need to see more from Ant-Man. I think he could be the face of the league in a couple of years. Absolutely. But again, until you start dominating both ends of the court and winning championships, I can't compare people to MJ, man. I'm sorry. He is my GOAT. He always will be my GOAT. And I think the comparisons are a little premature, but again, social media, man, everybody wants a headline. Everybody wants to compare this guy to this guy.
Quick.
Yep.
And then one year, but Jimmy Butler is Jordan's son, and next year, Anthony Edwards is Jordan's son. I wonder who it could be this year.
Yeah, like I said, don't get me wrong. I think Ant-Man's got a really bright future. I think being on Olympic team with these, these superstar guys, that's going to help him mature, right? It's going to help him learn. I think it's going to come down to, and he's talked about it in interviews, and I love the mindset, that he wants to get better and he hasn't accomplished anything. Those are the types of things I want to hear from someone like that. If you're going to compare him to a Jordan or something, we got to see if he's going to be able to execute on the talk.
What about SGA? What's your thoughts?
Supremely talented kid. I don't know. I think that, again, like, you want to talk about a team that's been constructed phenomenally. There might not be more talent on paper that's young than that team. The OKC team is nasty. So I want to see what happens, stack them 2, 3, 4 years in a row. You start doing that, then you got my buy-in to start being like, okay, this is legit. This isn't a flash in the pan. This isn't a 1 or 2 year run. This is someone who's established, continues to ascend and get better. Because listen, anybody can have, that one big year and stand out. And I'm not knocking any of these guys, but I need to see it done consistently over time.
I agree. I think all these young guys, we haven't even talked about Luka. Luka's, to me, in the same boat. He does a lot of great things. He definitely plays offense.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see just a in shape Luka come to the court day one, ready to rumble, playing both sides of the. Maybe his points go down some, but he's playing both sides of the court and handling his business. I mean, he gets to the playoffs, he's ready to rumble.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is that there's not a lot of killer instinct left. I mean, you look at MJ and that torch was passed to Kobe, and those guys will rip your heart out and will kill their teammate to get that W. And I just don't see a lot of that mindset in anybody. And there's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's wired the same way. And you don't have to be, but to be great like that, you need to have that just nonstop maniacal mindset of win at all costs. And I don't see a lot of that. And, people attribute to different things. And maybe part of it is honestly with these kids playing so much nationally at like AAU levels and things like that, and they're interacting, I think they're more friendly in general. There's also not like true hatred, right? I mean, minus Draymond picks a fight with everybody, but I don't see those like true rivalries. And I think all that sort of does play together, honestly, in my opinion.
I agree. I can see that. Yeah, because I've seen some footage of Ant-Man and Tyrese Maxey back in the day. They were young, getting at some stuff, going at it with each other. I think Betts is better than Trout. And then Big John backs up. Mookie is a top 10 athlete. Just some kind of way he gets lost in that shuffle, though. Does Bron, Curry, and KD's collectibles go up when they retire? And how would a league look without them? So maybe I'm biased, right? I don't see LeBron's going up because I think a lot of stuff is already baked in. KD's could slightly. His demeanor, though, with the public, I think holds him back a lot with collectible stuff in the hobby. If Curry wins another one, I see his stuff going up. If he doesn't, it will go up over time. He would instantly become vintage.
Yeah. And
it will go up over time. What do you think?
I'm with you. I do think, though, and I know that Bron has a lot of stuff baked in, but I also think that he's had a dip. He's going to go down as one of the top few best players ever to play. And I just think that there will be generations. He's also ingrained himself so much in branding and culture, and who even knows what he's going to do, after his basketball career. So I see he's still got some room to run. Is it going to, 10X? No, probably not, but I do see room to run. I'm with you on Curry. I think, he revolutionized the point guard position with the way he can shoot. Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. So I think he runs, and I'm with you on KD. Listen, the guy's supremely talented. I know he won titles in Golden State, but he was never the face of that team, in my opinion. And I just don't see his collectibles. I don't see him going up, honestly.
When the guy went and got a burner phone, I just don't know what that's all about.
Yeah.
With OKC acquiring Hartenstein, Chet cannot play the 4. Chet can play the 4 or the 3, depending on who they're playing at night. And I think it opens up a lot of stuff for Chet. He was playing out of position the whole year. I mean, you definitely could see him get exposed at that in the playoffs. Teams were coming at him. Just the way I'm saying, come down the hill at Wemby. People coming down. I know he's a bigger guy. But people come down the hill at Chet. And Chet had to body up, and that was difficult. When he played Valanciunas, he's throwing elbows right in chest.
Yep.
Coming right at him. So you got to be able to body up. Hopefully he's in that weight room. I've seen him. I think only so much he's going to do genetically. Probably. Seriously.
No. I'm laughing because I look at KD, right? KD came in a total beam pull. He's worked on his body. He's obviously really, really strong and in great shape, but like he's never going to be this ripped up, thick guy that like those big bodies in the NBA are, and it's a different body type.
And there was a lot of questions about KD coming out. Well, can he play defense against the 3? What's he going to do against the 4? And he decided to shoot your lights out. Chet doesn't have that kind of jump shot. But you see KD, man, you go to a game and see KD in person, you're like, man, that's a skinny center taking cats off the dribble, crossing them up, and then pulling up mid-range, nothing but the bottom of the net. How does he do that? How is he built like that? Like they had when they did the team picture, he was taller than AD, and he was taller than Bam.
Well, Bam is not huge, but AD's a big dude. And to your point, like he's a physical freak, man. And I think that Chet and Wemby have the opportunity, if they dedicate themselves, if they stay healthy, putting the work to have similar types of careers. I mean, I've watched Chet since high school when he was at Bishop Gorman in Vegas. And he does have a jumper. He's not silky smooth automatic like KD, but the kid can shoot, man.
He can. He was busting some threes and some long twos in the playoffs that showed that.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the football season coming up?
Absolutely, man. We talked about the Bears. I'm always going to have optimism. That's my squad through and through, and they've been bad for a long time. So I hope, that they can just show progress, and I just hope that Caleb Williams can show that he's the real deal. And that doesn't mean that he's a Pro Bowler and he throws for all these yards and stuff. I just want him to come in, just be solid, play well. If the Bears can win, I know people say it's a disappointment, but honestly, if they can win 8 to 10 games, I'm happy with it, and he looks like he's the part because there's so much runway with that team, with the way it's been constructed, torn down and reconstructed. That excites me. And then, can the Chiefs do it again? Can they three-peat? Like, that would be crazy. That'll be interesting to watch. And some of these other teams, like, you got to feel for the 49ers. They've been so close. They can't get over the hump. They've got a crazy talented team. And listen, this is a football crazy country. And anytime football's back, it makes Sundays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Mondays, whatever day of the week fun.
4 or 5 days a week now. Brock Purdy, do you think he is a guy that can realistically take his team to the playoffs and get them to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl?
If the question is, do I think he can win a Super Bowl? My answer is yes, because I think they've come really close and I think it's possible. Do I think that they win the Super Bowl because of Brock Purdy? No, I don't. I think it's because the other guys on that team and their defense. So that's how I will answer that. What's your take?
I don't believe in Brock Purdy. I've told many people this.
Yeah,
I think you can see last year in the playoffs when they played Kansas City in the big game. At some point, he's going to do something to, I wouldn't say be 199, but he's going to show that he's not Herbert, Burrow. He's certain things he cannot do. And I think from a defensive perspective, you can confuse him with what you are doing. And then, we saw last year, injuries. If there are injuries around him, he really started showing what is not going to happen. They got to get that team there healthy if they want to have a shot with him on the center. I thought it was a strong. I don't disagree with moving Trey Lance. I never thought he was. If you watch college tape on him, he's a running quarterback, right? If you look at the talent around him, he should be a throwing quarterback. So I never thought he fit the system. I think Brock Purdy fits it better.
Sure.
But I just don't think he can make certain throws at certain times that he needs to make to win.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy with all these quarterback contracts, it's like, do you give him that deal because that's what he's going to want, or his agent's going to want that, right? And I personally wouldn't, to your point. So maybe that's the answer. But I mean, we've seen the Trent Dilfords. We talked about earlier. We saw Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton take the Bears to a Super Bowl. They didn't win, obviously, but it's possible. I just don't think it's because of him. I guess you mentioned running quarterbacks, though, FD. What's your take on Justin Fields over in Pittsburgh, man?
He's not going to be starting. He won't be starting unless Russ gets hurt. Something happens crazy. You can still see in practice. There's some throws that he's overthrowing people.
Sure.
Doing things. I think his development got stunted a little bit, and I think he needs some time. Do I think he can be a pretty good quarterback? Yes, I think he could be. He's gonna need some time in a system like that with Tomlin really on his ass, giving him real feedback about what he's doing, and him hitting that film room and getting his education up on what he should be doing. What is that defense? What is he reading from the safety to the corner to the middle linebacker? And then he can go from there. Physically, I think he has the talent.
Sure.
We'll see. But again, some guys they have all the talent in the world. That's why they got there. They get to that stage, and that's what makes Brady different. And some of these people are different.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really care about what you're doing because I'm going to do what I'm doing.
Brady and Manning were literally supercomputers, you know, and Mahomes too, you know, he does it differently. It looks different, but the way that they play, they just dominate the game from a physical and mental perspective.
Let me ask you this, Hobby. Why every year are there a few quarterbacks picked that everybody's talking about, and you kind of have, if you watch him football, you know who Zach Wilson is? Come on now. You can tell me you don't know that. So why do people get excited about these Sam Howells? Well, you know who Sam Howell is. Where is that? We've seen this.
So are you talking about in a general media perspective or specific to the hobby and collection?
Oh, both.
Okay.
Both.
So I think there's similar answers. And I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that from a media perspective, they need storylines, right? So they've got to hype somebody up. And obviously the NFL is a quarterback-driven league. Not that these other guys aren't amazing and they aren't worth following, but, you know, quarterbacks put butts in seats. Quarterbacks are what people want. And so they've only got, you know, so many quarterbacks that they can talk about. Some of them are just so bad that they can't talk about them. And so they're going to hang their hat on somebody young who maybe or may not pop. And I think a lot of that's true for the hobby too. You know, it's like, you look at these guys and every year it cracks me up. There's always going to be the guy who's going to buy the backup quarterbacks in hopes that somebody gets hurt and they come in for a game or two, show a flash, and then
they think they have the golden strategy.
Exactly. But I think that's what it boils down to. You know, you've got a profession that there are so few possible answers to. And then of those, there's only a very few handful that have the talent and the team to be able to take it to the next level and truly win, right? I mean, you mentioned Justin Herbert earlier. Do I think he's supremely talented? For sure. But I haven't seen him do anything to prove that this is like the guy. Like, am I going to go pay him hundreds of millions of dollars to run my team? I don't know.
That's very true. I mean, he had a very suspect coach. But that's why this year we got to see what this guy's going to do. Because everything is being built around him. So there are no ways to wiggle out of this thing. You got receivers, you got a running back, you got a new coach. They're going to be running a different system because our system is not what was happening before. They're going to have a running back. You better be able to play off that play action and get the ball to where you need to get it to. You better be counting your steps because you're only going to get so many steps in that system.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what he does. I kind of foresee him having a pretty decent year, but he's got to come out and do it. And he has to make sure he stays healthy and doesn't get hurt.
Well, and I mean, listen, anybody who is in that AFC West when you're going against Mahomes, like your best shot is number 2, pretty much.
Right.
You know, and that's a tough spot to be in for sure. But you know, you look on the flip side, a guy like Burrow, right? I mean, obviously he's had some injury concerns, but you talk about mental capacity and physical skill. I believe in Joe Burrow if he stays healthy.
I've loved him from day one.
Yeah.
Astros Valdez 3 outs away from no hitter. What's all these no hitters the past? Well, what's with all these no hitters the last few weeks? I mean, I don't know if I have the answer to that. We see at least 3 or 4 no hitters almost every season. I don't know what count we're at right now. I don't think we surpassed 4. So this is pretty much what I could see happening. What's funny is we don't have any legendary pitchers throwing no hitters right now. That's the interesting thing. They're talking about Amari Cooper for Brandon Ayuk if Ayuk gets ready. Ayuk is out of there. 49ers gave him permission to talk to other teams. He's out. I can't blame this guy. You want to pay Brock Purdy. You want to talk about Debo. Debo's consistently hurt. I'm a Debo guy.
Yeah.
He's consistently hurt. Ayuk, the issue is he came out of nowhere and did what he did. He runs perfect routes almost. He has hands and he has speed. So you got to pay the man. But that's not what you want to do with Brock Purdy and other people. So, and he's not going to play that. Oh well, we'll see stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm a football player, really any sport, I'm definitely not playing the we see game because you already saw my stats.
Football of all the sports, you cannot mess around. Your career can be over on any given play. That's tough. I don't know. That would be interesting to see. You know, I don't know. Is Ayuk a upgrade over Cooper? Maybe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That'd be interesting to see. I want to ask you about New York Knicks. Real deal or playing games? What you think?
I think. Listen, I'm a Tibbs guy, man. I love Tibbs. And I think he buys into that old school mantra and strategy. And I think a lot of it comes down to health. You know, I mean, if they had a Julius Randle healthy, you know, maybe some of the other guys weren't quite as banged up, could they have beaten the Celtics? I think they could have. And I think it's really, really cool that Villanova team is getting reassembled. You know, people can make fun of it all they want, but adding Bridges is a big get. And I think there's something to be said about that championship DNA and having those guys there that are willing to sacrifice for one another. So I think they're a real deal. You know, do I think they can win the NBA title? Probably not, because I think there's a lot of the Western Conference teams that can take them. Can I see them getting to the finals out of the East? I think it's possible.
Yeah, I see it as possible. I just always find in the NBA there's always a dominant point with a weaker center. There's no Shaq and Kobe. There's no. Right. And we even got to get all the way there. We could get 70% there and do well by ourselves. I want the Knicks to get a real center.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of them in the league, but
well, and they just traded in a lot of chips to get Bridges. So I don't know how much ammo they got to make the trade too, you know.
Exactly. I guess you could lean on, hey, Golden State didn't have a real, dominant center. I think that's made Steph have to work harder. And now that he's older, it'd be great if he could have a big man. And maybe when he leaves Golden State.
Yeah, but you got to give a lot of props to Jalen Brunson, man. I mean, not only is that guy just turned himself into a heck of a player, but the sacrifice he made financially, which, again, loyalty, all that other stuff, seems goofy. But clearly he talked to management and said, hey, I want you to keep my buddies and my teammates around me. I'll take a lot less. And, good on him, man. Good on him. I don't know if we would all do that in that position.
Well, I think I've said for a while, people said, hey, FD, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. The Brady way of doing things is going to end up coming to the NBA. And to me, if you got your head screwed on, right, why wouldn't you take less to try to get more? And then in a city like New York and with marketing and everything that's going on in that city, Brunson knows he's going to be fine for a long time.
Sure. And let's be honest, man. He was one of those guys, like a Brady, who flew under the radar. They weren't expected to be where they're at. They've worked their tail off and they're really good players. So to him, that contract he signed is winning the freaking lottery 10 times over. And he probably didn't dream he would be in that position. And maybe that's part of it too, is that guys who don't think that they're always top dog, where you look at a guy like LeBron, even later in these stages of his career, sure, he's a draw. Sure, he's a lot of the team, but dude, take a pay cut, get more talent around you, try to win. That there's a lot to be said for that.
Bronny, what do you think? I had to get you in.
Bronny, I think, is LeBron James' son. That's what I think about Bronny.
That's what I said too. That's his top bullet point on his resume, his middle and his bottom.
Yeah.
I'm LeBron James' son.
Yeah.
What else I wanted to ask you about? We talked about Bronny. Who you see winning the World Series this year? Do you see the Dodgers getting in or Ohtani handling his business?
I think they're the favorite. They've got a heck of a lot of talent. I'll be honest, FD, I'm not the biggest baseball guy. Okay. But I do know that the Dodgers, time and time again, shown that they've got the payroll and the talent. So we'll see.
I agree with Machado. They need to get Randall out of town. But that's just me, though.
Yeah. I made the Randall comment just because he is still a weapon. Do I think they could do better? Absolutely. So to your point, can they package Randall and something else and go get a better big? Maybe that's the move.
And Smoother says Ayuk is considered San Fran's fourth or fifth option. I would think San Fran is probably pumping that information out there. Because he's
Agreed.
not, if you watch the games, he's not a fourth or fifth option.
Agreed.
Zach, is that a man cave behind you? Nice setup. I like the LED lights.
I appreciate it, man. This is actually my office. So yeah, I've got some of my Derrick Rose stuff. I've got some of my Bulls stuff. I've got some of my art cards. I got Star Wars. I got Jordan artwork. I got a lot of stuff in here, man. So I appreciate the kind words, but I also use it as my podcast set. So I try to keep it looking pretty good.
Looks clean, brother. Looks real clean.
Thank you.
One day I gotta grow up and get something like that. That thing looks clean. I like that. Are you going to the Burbank show? Are you
I am, man. So hopefully I'll be able to see you in Junior. Yeah. So I got
be there all week.
The Burbank show. I'm excited about. They're doing some really great things. I actually tomorrow, shameless plug. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. Hobby Hustle drops every week, and this week's guest is Jay Coscahuelo from the Burbank show. He's their chief operating officer. He was telling us some really, really cool things. So if you guys are interested in the Burbank show, check out that episode tomorrow night because he reveals a few really exciting things that are going to be happening. But I will be there, FD. I will also be at Culture Collision. It'll be a quick trip. I'm just in Friday and then leave Saturday midday. But I want to go say what's up to those guys. You know, Roth and his team do a really good job, and I really like trying to support as many people as I can, you know, when it makes sense.
Very good. Machado says, Zach, how you come up with your logo on your hat?
I've been a by trade a graphic design guy, so branding, logos, sort of something I've always done. So you know, the Hobby Hustle, I just liked how it looked and sort of envisioned something like that in my head. And then the Collector Creative, I played around with a lot of different ideas, but I like sort of the abstract C's coming together. It sort of looks like a puzzle piece. My son looked at some different logos with me, and we sort of decided that this was what should happen. And you know, again, I'm trying to help consult and bring people together, community together. So I thought it was fitting. So I appreciate if you like it, Machado. Thank you.
Yeah, they're both very nice logos. Very
Thanks,
nice.
Man.
Jazz Chisholm doesn't push the Yankees over the hump. No, he doesn't. But I looked at him as a person that came in to put butts in seats. He's electrifying. He does stuff that you don't see everybody doing. So that's what I saw that pickup as. And he's good with a microphone in front of him. He's a funny guy.
It doesn't hurt.
No. And then the story about Kobe and all that. I mean, he's an interesting guy. I'm looking for a logo for my card stuff too. Yeah.
Hit me up, Machado. Hit me up, man. You can get me info at collectorcreative.com or Zach at collectorcreative.com. Happy to help you out if I can.
There you go. Brother, I've enjoyed having you here. I need to have you on more.
I'd love to come on anytime, FD, man. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I appreciate you asking me. And I know that, you know, you, Junior, and I got to hang out a little bit at an Anaheim Burbank show like a year or so ago. So hopefully you guys will be at this one. And I've never been to the Anaheim version. I've just been to the Ontario. So I'm excited to check this one out.
What days are you going to be there? You going to be there every day?
I'll be there the whole show. I'm coming in. I'm hanging out. I'm staying. There's a lot of really cool people on the West Coast that I've got to know over the years through social media that are, you know, amazing collectors. There's also a lot of obviously 90s guys out there. So between some other business opportunities and just networking, I thought it'd be appropriate to be out there for a little bit longer than normal.
Well, we'll be out there for the whole week. I think we get in, Wednesday, leave Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
So I'll probably get you up, maybe have dinner or something, do something.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. I'll be in, let's see, I get in, I'm coming in Thursday morning. I've got some meetings scheduled, but I'll be there for the VIP night, and then I'll be there through Sunday, I think, afternoon. So yeah, definitely. Let's connect, and I'd love to hang with you in person. And like I said, man, anytime you want, I'd love to come back on the show. It's really been fun and a pleasure.
All right, brother. W episode. Thank you, FD and Zach. It's so good to have you here, man. I really appreciate you, what you represent. And if you ever have a slot open on the Hobby Hustle, you let me know about it.
I will for sure, man. I would love to get you on as well, FD. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Have a wonderful evening.
I'll talk to you.
See ya.
Yep. Y'all keep rolling, people.